This news update is brought to you by
Rock the remote with hours of free karaoke on video on demand from Flow. So bring it like Bay. There's even wonderful kids sing-alongs too. Available anytime. Simply press the VOD button on your Flow remote. This is how we do TV. This is how we flow.
This is the Barbados Today Evening Update for Tuesday, February 2. Thanks for joining us. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. A second St. Michael woman has been charged in connection with the theft of lottery tickets and money, which occurred at a bank hall service station. 29-year-old Chauntel Shakera Francis of Headley's Land Bank Hall answered to 4 counts of theft valued at $12,976.90. Francis appeared before the District A Magistrates Court today and was granted $15,000 bail with one surety. She was also ordered to present herself to the District A Police Station every Friday before 9 a.m. until her next court date, that is on April 20th. Now, over the weekend, the 25-year-old Amanda Priscilla Boyce was granted bail after she appeared in court on 2 counts of theft in relation to the same matter. Boyce is an assistant at the service station in Bank Hall. Now, according to a release from the Police Public Relations Officer, Acting Assistant Superintendent David Welch, lawmen also recovered a motor car, money, a bicycle, clothing, and the cellular phone during investigations into the matter. 16 students of the Darrell Jordan Secondary School escaped serious injury after a ZR overturned in Bentham's St. Lucie this morning. However, 2 of those had to be transported to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital following the accident. The other 14 were treated at the scene and discharged. Baggio Williams was one of the students on board the ZR and recounted the experience.
I was scared because he was just driving out and the boy from the family and he marched up over and he bumped into the young split. So they shot. No, you see everybody. You see everybody. Then they get shoot everybody. Trying to get the van and then some boy put on me, so he trying to push him out. And when he get out, we just stand here so and shoot everybody.
Principal Stephen Jackman rushed to the scene this morning on getting the news.
I dispatched another teacher, settled the school, get to the principal came, get to the principal, then called me and told me that 3 students had walked away from the scene, so I collected them and brought them back. We came, fire service and ambulance service had already arrived and the police started the triage and then we started to remove them. So we backed off and then what we did was constantly contact the parents.
Police Superintendent Margaret Stephen said the accident occurred after a ZR hit an embankment after swerving to avoid a head-on collision with an oncoming vehicle. 2 doctors from the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, police, soldiers, and personnel from a fire and ambulance service, as well as teachers from the Darrell Jordan Secondary School, were at the scene. Labour Minister Dr. Esther Bayasuku says the sexual harassment legislation is in its final stages of drafting. Asked to give an update on the legislation following the opening of a 2-day national conference for entrepreneurship and STEM this morning, the minister revealed that there were a few areas that needed addressing in the proposed legislation, which has been on the cards since last year.
The sexual harassment legislation is probably nearly done now. I think we have what should be the final draft. We did have one issue that we were sorting out with that legislation, in that we wanted for the sexual harassment, any cases of sexual harassment, after of course they've been investigated by the Chief Labour Officer and necessary authorities, and it's determined that there is a case, any case of sexual harassment would be heard in camera and would be heard by the tribunal. And that was one of the issues that we were trying to finalize, because we were proposing that it be done by the Employment Rights Tribunal. So the question was, do we want it by the Employment Rights Tribunal or another tribunal? So that is what was being worked out. And once that is sorted out, then the rest of the legislation is done. So we're just kind of working out that final arrangement there.
On the issue of the work of the Employment Rights Tribunal, which is currently hearing the case of dismissed National Conservation Commission workers, Dr. Bayasuku made it clear that she would not be interfering in its affairs.
This is a matter that does not have any interference from me. My role was to get the tribunal in legislation and to get the tribunal up and running and to ensure that administratively it can go ahead. I keep my ears to the ground. If there are any issues that they need to bring to me for resolution from an administrative perspective only, then I will get involved. But I am not involved in the hearings, in the decision making, or anything like the rest of Barbados. I am waiting with bated breath to hear the outcome.
But even the behavior of those representing both sides?
I will listen to it, but I cannot say anything. At the end of this, when the tribunal sits down and they assess what has happened, and them and their administrative staff, they will probably determine, they would have to look at various things.
In sports, retired international umpire John Holder rubbishes criticisms of the West Indies under-19 team's method of winning their final group match against Zimbabwe. The regional boys won the last quarter-final spot by 2 runs in the ICC Under-19 World Cup in Bangladesh this morning. Pacer Kimo Paul broke the stumps and appealed for a run-out against non-striker Richard N. Rava, who was backing up just outside his crease. Enrava, whose bat appeared to be on the line as the bails came off, was given out after the umpires referred the situation to a video review. The method of dismissal brought swift rebuke from several current and former international cricketers watching the game. They deemed it to be disgraceful and embarrassing behavior, but Holder described the criticisms as hot air and crass.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Secure your future, be financially strong. Since 1983, we have been there for you. A smart range of products, great tax benefits. We're the solution to your hopes and your dreams. The Barbados Workers Union Cooperative Credit Union. The Barbados Workers Union Cooperative Credit Union. Humble beginnings to smart loans, smart savings. Save smart and borrow smarter. That's the move for me. Stability, prosperity. We're the solution to your hopes and your dreams. The Barbados Workers Union Cooperative Credit Union. The Barbados Workers Union Cooperative Credit Union.
In news from our regional neighbors, Jamaica records a sharp decline in murders during the first month of the year. Statistics from the Jamaica Constabulary Force showed 73 murders committed in January compared to 103 during the same period last year. The parish of St. James recorded 11 murders, the most so far for the year, while Clarendon is not far behind with 10 reported murders. The parishes of Portland and St. Mary are the only ones not to record a murder in January this year. A 4.9 magnitude earthquake rattled 3 Caribbean countries in the wee hours of this morning. According to the University of the West Indies Seismic Research Center, the quake occurred east of Martinique around 3:18 a.m. and had a depth of 18 kilometers. It was also felt in Dominica and St. Lucia. There were no reports of damage or injuries. To developments now on the international scene, Republicans and Democrats vying for their party's ticket for the November U.S. presidential election have been arriving in New Hampshire ahead of the next vote. Monday's caucuses in Iowa were won by Senator Ted Cruz for the Republicans and Hillary Clinton for the Democrats. Cruz prevailed despite trailing in the opinion polls, while Clinton beat Senator Bernie Sanders by just 0.2%. New Hampshire is seen as quite a different challenge for the parties. And finally, the first known sexually transmitted case of the Zika virus has been reported in Texas. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention confirmed a patient was infected in the Dallas County. The patient was apparently infected after having sexual contact with someone who returned from a country where the disease is present. This would be the first known infection to take place in the U.S. The World Health Organization has declared the Zika virus a global public health emergency. And that's news and sports, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. Also, subscribe to our e-paper, our email updates, and like us on Facebook. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals or screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you, as well as Channel 101 on Flow TV and Mix 96.9 FM. I'm Frenella Wedderburn. Good evening.